So there are reasons why people call it death zone. People we have met say it's a different planet, different crazy stories. People start hallucinating up there, seeing things that are really not there. It's like a haunting experience. The climbers have told us they come across several dead bodies. So they're just lying there for decades.
The Sherpa who climbed and built a tent on the summit, that too without oxygen.
So he decides to go up without oxygen, spend at least 24 hours on the summit. Unlimited supplies of oxygen, unlimited human resource, as many Sherpas as you like, who can literally carry you if you can't walk. For a very good reason, it's called the Killer Mountain.
There's something about mountains that goes beyond beauty, something that moves people emotionally, almost spiritually. But at the same time, Everest is also a place of extreme risk, death, and obsession. In today's episode of The Foggy Mirror, we explore why do people risk everything to stand on the top of the world? And while the world celebrates climbers, what about the Sherpas who make the summit possible? Joining me today is Ankit Babu Adhikari, author of Sherpa, who has spent a lot of time with many such Sherpas from the region. And in this episode, Ankit brings us their untold stories, stories of summits, courage, and ambition. Let's begin the episode. Great to have you on the show, Ankit.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine, Jay.
So, I have always wondered this thing about Everest. So, why do people risk their lives to climb Everest? Is it just adventure or something else?
Actually, Jay, so there will be different reasons for different people who are willing to reach the top of the world. So there is no one reason that drives everybody, right? For the most part of it, I think it's adrenaline that people always seek. That is one factor. The other one, of course, people want to challenge themselves to see and test their own limits, how far they can stretch. That is one. For Sherpas, as we talk, that's pure livelihood. A lot of Sherpas that I have met, when they climb Everest, come back for the season, so they say, I'm done with it. The next year when their savings dry out, there is no option but to go back again. For Sherpas, it's pure livelihood. And there also is a lot of this new bunch of climbers for whom it seems all easy, right? So they don't really grasp the concept of the risk, the actual amount of risk that lies there as they climb. So because that is again driven by a lot of factors, like, we see a lot of success stories on the media, the glories, and the number of people climbing Everest every year. It really makes it all look easy, which is not, right? A lot of people come without really understanding, without really realizing the depth and the risk, the amount of risk that lies there. A lot of different reasons working out for different people.
Yeah, the world actually celebrates climbers who summit Everest, but the stories of Sherpas are untold, rarely spoken about.
Yeah.
So, what relationships does Sherpas have with the mountain? And there are many untold stories. You have written a book.
Yeah.
You have spoken to so many Sherpas. So, which is the story that is the most closest to your heart? And if you can also explain the relationships that Sherpas share with the mountain.
Like you said, Sherpas have never been given the amount of recognition that they really deserve, right? So they have been at the backbone. They have been the backbone of the entire climbing world for so long, for century already. So they have been there. They are the constant factor that has been making the act of climbing possible for everyone who's there. It's true that they have not really gotten the amount of recognition that they really deserve. That happens because most of the stories that come out of Everest climbing, mountaineering, the whole industry, it's purely driven by this Western perspective, because most of the stories that have come out, those have been written, those have been told by the Western climbers, right? And they often reduce Sherpas to just numbers. So I climbed Mount Everest with 4, 5, 6 Sherpas, right? So this has been happening for so many years, so many decades already. Things are gradually changing. Some of the Sherpas, they have really come out on the front, defined the entire act of climbing as what it really takes to be up there. And things are changing gradually, but still a long way to go. About the relationship that Sherpas hold with Mount Everest and other mountains, so to say, it's like I said earlier, For most of them, it's livelihood. But beyond that, there is also a lot of spirituality that goes on, right? So mountains for Sherpas, it's purely the home to their gods, right? The Everest itself, it's the resident of goddess Myo Langsangma in the Tibetan Buddhism. So yeah, so despite whatever is going on with the recognition, so there are these multiple factors, like their spiritual connection with the mountain, the livelihoods that's associated with the act of climbing. So these are all the factors that uh, come together to take a Sherpa there.
Is it true that they see the mountain as a living deity? I've read it somewhere.
Yeah. So as I said, the Mount Everest itself, it's Myo Langsangma, goddess Myo Langsangma for the Sherpas and for the people belonging to the Buddhist community. So yeah, Mount Everest itself is
Goddess.
yeah, is a goddess.
Yeah, and your favorite Sherpa story you can share.
There are a lot of stories that we've documented in our book.
Mm,
One that comes to my mind is that of Kusang Sherpa.
mm,
I think there is a chapter called "You'll Be King One Day." Kusang Sherpa, he comes from Makalu region in Nepal. So there are three hubs to Sherpas living here in Nepal. So one is definitely the Everest region. Another one is Makalu region. The other one is Rolwa.
mm,
So these are the three key hubs. This guy here, Kusang Sherpa, he comes from Makalu.
mm,
So early on his childhood, he ran away from his home to go to Darjeeling, right? So because most of the expeditions, the Everest industry boomed here, and from a lot of mountaineering climbing was being coordinated from Darjeeling.
Darjeeling. Okay.
Yeah. So that was before the times of Tenzing Norgay. And so this guy leaves from Makalu to go to Darjeeling, and he gets lost on the way. So there is this southern border, the city of Jhapa in Nepal, that's connected with the other side of the border, Siliguri. And then someone tells him, so in Darjeeling, there is not much for you. I can take you to Bhutan. There are better jobs in Bhutan. So this guy takes our Kusang Sherpa to Bhutan. And at that time, so there was this huge hydropower construction going on in Bhutan. Our Kusang Sherpa was just about 8 or 9 years old back then. And then he gets sold as a bonded labor. And he spends the rest of his childhood, we must say, in terrible misery, right? So there is no enough food. He gets peanuts as pay, no good shelter. But this guy, he's always curious to know how his future is, how his fortune is going to turn out in future, right? So he finds these Buddhist priests, people who do some fortune telling, right? So he goes to one of these Lama priests from the Buddhist community at first. And then this fortune teller, the chapter actually starts with this dark imagery of how Kusang Sherpa is seated in a dark, a dark room at a corner, waiting for his turn to ask this priest, fortune teller, about himself. This fortune teller, he tells Kusang that he will be king one day. Leave this guy thinking. So the kind of life he is having there in Bhutan, it's out of question, out of imagination, that he might be a king one day, right? So there is no analogy, no reference, nothing. So this guy wants to test what this fortune teller told him, and then he goes to a priest from another religion, Hindu religion, and then this new priest also again tells him that he will be king one day, right? So there are these hopes that clung onto him from the very beginning, but he didn't know how, right? So years later, he manages to sneak out. He manages to run away from the labor camp, and then he finally a lot of struggle goes on there. It's all documented in the chapter, but he finally makes it to Darjeeling, and then he comes in contact with the climbers there, the expedition that was going on, everything. He starts as a porter. Obviously, that's particular to almost every Sherpa that we talk about. He starts as a porter, but then after years of struggle, after years of going and coming back to the mountains, so he manages to actually climbed Everest one day, right? Kusang Sherpa, he passed away last year. Until that, he was the only one living person to have summited Everest from all three faces. So with three faces, what I mean here is we generally understand that there are two faces leading up to the top, right? Which is common. Yeah, which is common. One from the south and another from the north. So southern side it's Nepal and the northern side it's Tibet. So also from Tibet there is this another route that goes up. That's called Khangsung face. It's the eastern face.
Is that the most difficult one?
Yeah, the most difficult one so far in the entire climbing history. There have been just about a dozen of successful summits from that Khangsung face. It's steep, so you literally have to spend nights hanging. Lots of accidents have happened. So there is not much of expedition happening from that route. So Kusang Sherpa made it to the top from all these three faces, and that's how we establish him as a king that once a fortune teller had predicted for Kusang Sherpa. That's one story. So there are lots of these stories. Another one is about Purbatashi Sherpa, one of the fiercest Sherpas that the climbing industry has ever seen. So just imagine, Purbatashi started climbing a little later than other Sherpas. He must have climbed about, I don't know, 14, 15 years, 1.5 decades roughly. And then the number of summits to his name, it's 21.
21.
Yeah, 21 summits in, say, 14 or 15 years. How is that possible? So Purbatashi is one guy who would make more than 3 summits every year, right? So he would go to the top, come back, and again go the same.
It's like
The same
good
season.
routine for-
Yeah. So while he was climbing, he lied to his parents. So he comes from a relatively well-to-do family in the Everest region, in the Khumbu region, and his parents were not, encouraging, not willing to send him to mountains because of all the risks involved. And but he always has this pull towards the mountains. He has seen his friends going to the mountains. He has his brothers who go to the mountains and all of that, right? So he finds his way and starts late than what most other Sherpas do. And then he doesn't tell his parents that he is climbing. He just tells them that I go there, I manage things at the base camp. So that's all I do. But actually, what he's doing is climbing 3 times in a row in a single season. So that kind of a guy. And then he equaled his number of summits with Apa Sherpa, 21 times, which was the highest so far. And then in year 2015, both his parents passed away, and that suddenly, was a moment of spiritual awakening for this guy. He suddenly decides not to go to the mountains back again. Right. What he does instead is he starts taking care of the hundreds of yaks that his parents were rearing.
Mm.
And then to him, taking care of these yaks is like repairing to all the guilt that he had all these years lying to his parents. So the fierce Sherpa, all of a sudden turning into this spiritual guy who doesn't want to go to the mountains. The 21 summits he has to his name, it doesn't mean anything to him, right? So all that means now is to take care of what his parents left behind. So there is this dark spiritual side to his story. So that is why we've dedicated a whole chapter to this guy, an odd legend, we call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are stories, a lot of them, but yeah.
Yeah, my favorite one from your book is the Sherpa who climbed and built a tent on the summit.
Yeah.
That too without oxygen, I guess it was for 21 hours.
Yeah. That was Babu Chiri Sherpa. Say people are fierce. Babu Chiri was the whole next level. So, like one of the heroes from the South Indian movies. Absolute heroics. So, Babu Chiri Sherpa.
Seems like a Rajnikant of Sherpa.
Yeah. Actually, all of the Sherpas are Rajnikant in their own might. The real life Rajnikants, right? So, what Babu Chiri Sherpa did was so people say that people who met him when he was still alive, Babu Chiri, it's said to have had an engine of a truck. So, yeah, enormous strength going up there, the resilience that he had, unmatched with any other contemporary climbers. So he decides to, go up the mountain without oxygen and spend at least 24 hours on the summit. To bring this to context, most of the expeditions that are happening and the summits that people achieve, right? So when people are at the top, actually, so they always hurry to come back because that's no place to spend time, and because the air is too thin, there's very little oxygen, and there is a huge queue that's behind you, right? So you don't spend more than 12, 15, 20 minutes at the summit. It's very risky because of the wind. It's very unpredictable as well. So Babuchiri decides to go up there and spend 24 hours in a tent, which he does successfully. Does that, holds this record. Babuchiri also has another record, the fastest summit. He did the summit in 16 hours. 16 hours. 16
What's
hours.
the average time?
Average time. So we can't really track that in a linear way because there's lots of going up and coming back in the process of acclimatization. It all counts to your summit time. So when the actual final push happens, it happens from camp 4. Before that, climbers are going up and coming back. So
Okay.
so you can't really tell that, but Babuchiri did that in a 16-hour run.
Less than a day.
Yeah, less than a day. This was Babuchiri. I was very lucky to meet the head Sherpa in Babuchiri's team.
Yeah. So on an average, how many days does a climber take or a Sherpa takes to the summit?
So when one is climbing, so there is no linear way of calculating that because there is a lot of up and down going on in the process of acclimatization. But when the final summit push happens from the base camp, let's say on an average 5, 6, 7 days, and our guy Babu Chiri, he did all of that in 16 hours.
Less than a day.
Yeah, less than a day. The record has been broken time and again now, but imagine those days without the technology that we have today. That was crazy, and that was, I think, the limit for that time.
Yeah. So how has the role of Sherpas evolved in the last 30 years from porters to elite climbers and now expedition leaders?
Right. So we can maybe picture this like this. So there are different streams of Sherpas going up, right? So one, as we commonly understand, it's the high altitude guides who take their clients all the way up to the summit. So that's one. The other one, the other stream of Sherpas. So they do a lot of back and forth between the camps.
One
Right.
camp to the other.
Yeah, one camp to the other, taking supplies, food, gears, setting up tents, and all of that. So that's one, another stream. And then the other Sherpas who you find right at the start of Nukla when you start your trekking to the Everest base camp. So there are these Sherpa porters that come along with you. So they are not meant to go up the mountain above
They carry
the
the
load.
load.
Yeah, they just carry the load. For all of these Sherpas, regardless of which stream they are currently serving, the work starts as a porter, right? So they start like a porter. We can talk of elite Sherpas now. They also started someday
As a porter.
as a porter. So all these different streams, and we see these stark differences now. So how this entire Sherpa community in mountaineering has evolved in the past decades. On the evolution, we can take the story all the way back to 1920s when it all started. The Sherpas were still a part of the British expeditions that were happening at that time. But to evolve as professionals, it really took them really decades. Starting from 1920s, Tenzing Norgay summited with Edmund Hillary in 1953, right? So there were a lots of contemporary Sherpas that were still struggling to find their space in the world of climbing because it was predominantly the British climbers. There were a lot of other European expeditions happening. Some were successful. None of them were successful until 1953. But after that, you know, uh, even until 1990s, so there was a lot of struggle for the Sherpas. It was it's their home. The Everest is their home, but to find jobs in expeditions, it was really a struggle, because these were huge groups of foreign climbers coming together. The number of Sherpas that they went along with them, none of them were actually permitted to go all the way up to the summit, right? So the Sherpas rule, it would be limited up to maybe camp 3, camp 4, right? So they were never taken all the way up. That's how a lot of Sherpas at that time, they've been up to camp 4 for several times, but never actually got the chance to go to the summit, although they had a lot of opportunities, right?
There were some rules not to go to the summit.
No written rules, but I think just how things unfolded back then, right? So when it came to summit, uh, the heroes were always, yeah, the people that the Sherpas were helping back. So gradually, slowly and gradually, it has now come to the point where Sherpas took charge of this entire industry, not just inside Nepal, but you name it, all the expeditions happening all over the world, right? The Sherpa guides, the most sought after, fellows who can lead these expeditions. And also how this industry evolved within Nepal. 1990s, early 2000s, most of these expeditions were being managed by the Western companies. So there were no native Sherpa led expedition companies that were operating back then. But as the Sherpas, got this little exposure outside the world, also things started changing around how the world outside of Everest, in Europe, in Americas, how they perceive Sherpas. It also slowly and gradually started changing, maybe with the likes of Babu and all other Sherpas doing all these heroics. So now we have a lot of Sherpa led local companies that run the business, right? So this is the story of evolution around how Sherpas have come around. But again, as I said, the 3 or 4 streams of work that Sherpas go into, that still exists. Some Sherpas, they are leading the business. Some Sherpas, they're still the porters. This is an ongoing evolution, I guess. From the 1950s, when these expeditions started happening from the Nepal side, because earlier there was a lot going on from the northern side in Tibet. From the 50s, the expeditions started happening from this side, also because the first successful summit of Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, it happened from this side. The interest around it really grew after that. From 1950s until 90s, so there was a direct king rule in Nepal. The expedition permissions at that time, it used to be limited to 1 expedition per year, right? Also because of that, it never really got the chance to really flourish as a industry, or in a more commercial way back then. After it started happening in the 90s, it was predominantly led by the Western companies until after maybe 2000s. The Nepali companies started coming up and leading the business. But having said that, Sherpas have evolved to leading the business for the entire mountaineering industry. We should not forget that the streams of Sherpas that we talked about earlier, the porters, the guides, and all of this, so they still exist. So yeah, it's an ongoing process.
Sherpas now are traveling all over the world.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, the expeditions that are happening in Europe, America, Africa, mostly the most trusted guides up there, it's Sherpas. And there are lots of Sherpas that we are our own, friends whom we have interviewed for the book. It's very hard to get their time to even meet them for a copy. They're traveling all the time. They're traveling all over the world. It also came with an upgrading of their skills, and with technologies and everything, sophisticated trainings, and the natural resilience and the power that they had. It always came in handy for them.
And what kind of lives did Sherpas live before 1990?
For Sherpas, before 1990 and after 1990, right? So the struggle has always been constant with the way the Sherpas have been living. I'm in the conditions, because their hamlets, villages, They get born around 4,000, meters. They spend their entire lives there, and then they die there. It's been a life of constant struggle, but the face of struggle, how we see it, that has changed. Before the expedition started happening, there used to be a lot of trade going on with Tibet. There are a lot of these high passes in the Everest region that lead to Tibet on the other side. Until 1960s, when China took over Tibet, so there was a lot of this trade happening, right? It stopped all of a sudden when China took over. But luckily, the Sherpas also had this evolving, opportunity of mountaineering that was still in the nascent stage back then, but it was evolving, right? From the struggle of going crossing passes to trade, now it had come to going up the mountains and then finding their livelihoods. It has become a lot more easier these days with all the supplies we have, commercialization that has taken place around these little hubs like Namche Bazaar and other villages in the Everest region. So there have been some changes, but the struggle, if we have to point it, it's still the same, I would say, because they still live with little food, little prospect of prosperity, because the Sherpas that have been living there as porters, they have very little prospect of coming out and maybe growing as another expedition leader, because that's going to take a lot of time for these families, and little everything, little oxygen, little food. They don't grow anything, so the struggle is pretty much the same, I would say. To add to it, it's little everything actually. Little food, they grow only potatoes, little potatoes, right? Little oxygen, and little prospect of actually evolving out of life as it stands there, uh, and getting this uh, prospect of prosperity outside of their niche. It's always has been struggling.
So to put into context, I think the summit is around 8,600, 8,800 feet.
8,848.48 meters.
The Sherpa villages are almost half of it.
So we had a survey of the measurement of Everest's height. I think a couple of years back. The height was has always been, as we grew up. It had been 8,848 meters. Now it increased to 8,849 meters. 48.1 meter
increase.
Yeah. And the Sherpa villages,
4,000
yeah,
500.
the highest villages you'll find 4,500 close to 5,000 meters as well. These are not so high up, around 5,000 meters. These are not the constant villages. People go there, run their business in the expedition season, and come back. But the place where they live constantly, you'll find villages up to 4,500 meters easily.
So they live halfway up there already.
Yeah.
So tell me about the death zone. I think climbers say that it's a different planet. It's more than just to climb. It's more than that. So what challenges does death zone pose in reality?
See, death zone starts after Camp 4. Camp 4 is somewhere around 8,000 meters, and the space above that, from 8,000 meters until the summit, that's death zone. So there are reasons why people call it a death zone. So people say it's a different planet. It is actually a different planet to me, because if there was no if there was no ground to stand on at that height, you would literally be floating with little oxygen, terrible conditions. The wind is unpredictable. Nothing is under your control as you climb after you have reached 8,000 meters. The people we have met tell of different crazy stories. People start hallucinating up there, seeing things that are really not there, right? It's like a haunting experience. People are out of their conscious minds. They can't make sane decisions. The matter of the resilience, the level of resilience you have, and the perseverance that you can really keep up to as you do the summit and come back. So above 8,000 meters, let's say, I mean, you will not be functioning as a complete yourself. there's a lot of physiological, biological changes outside of your body and inside your body, right? So these are all the factors that make things very difficult up there. Death zone for a reason, because a lot of people, actually die up there.
Have you seen this movie Everest?
Yeah.
Is it correctly depicted?
The accident that they show, I think that's on the death zone itself, and I think that's how it happens. I have not been there myself, but based on what people have told me, and based on recollections of all these interviews with people who have been up there, I think the struggle is as what they have shown in the movie, if not more than that.
And is it also true that there are dead bodies on Everest and they are lying for decades?
Yeah.
What does that do to the psychology of climbers?
So on your way up to the summit, the climbers have told us they come across several dead bodies. So they're just lying there for decades. Irwin's dead body, he was a part of this expedition with George Mallory back in 1924. Mallory's remains were found in the late 1990s. Irwin's remains were found, I think, just a couple of years back. So all these years, just imagine. So we've also put this in our book on the last chapter. So we start our book with an account of how people ascend the mountains. The final chapter is about the descent. So some descend and some just get left there. So there are a lots of dead bodies. So one of our characters in the last chapter, Namgyal Sherpa, he died somewhere between Camp 4 to summit. People who went there until recently, they mentioned that they saw his body somewhere. Sometime it gets covered under the snow, sometime it shows up. There are lots of dead bodies.
Generally, do they carry the dead body of the companions down, or is it not advisable?
People who can afford it try to get their loved ones bodies back.
What do you mean by afford it?
It's super expensive. Like
Get dead bodies down.
yeah, to get the dead bodies down, because just imagine, people hiring Sherpas, these companies and everything. So you've already paid a lot of hefty amounts and going up, spent a lot of your savings, and to get a dead body down, it's 4 to 5 times more expensive to get the bodies down. I think it's also documented in our chapter, the struggles that goes when bringing a body down. It's not just letting a body slide from up there. You have to carry it, right? And with all the gears and with all the human resource that you require, because one or two Sherpas alone can't do it. You have to take an entire crew up there, and then to bring the body safely back to the base camp. It's a lot of struggle, and several folds, 4 to 5 times more expensive than actually paying for the summit.
As the cost of expedition is generally around 60 to 70 lakhs, is what they say. Where does this money go? I mean, in what pockets are they spent?
The government charges these license fees. It's $15,000 now, and apart from that, the rest of the money you pay to the companies that take you up there, right? So and there are variations in how much you pay based on what company you pick, right? So there are these reputed elite companies that charge hefty amounts. Some charge a little less. On an average, I think 50 to 60,000 dollars are spent. To add to it, we also have a lot of these elite expeditions happening.
Hmm.
Expeditions that charge you in several $100,000. 50 to 60,000 dollars. That's for regular climbers. But if you are really up for it and you can pay for it, you can pay for the services. People even pay up to close to $1 million. What do they pay for?
Yeah, the extra services, what are they?
Yeah, the extra services, they're crazy. I mean, a lot of it is debated a lot. Unlimited supplies of oxygen, unlimited human resource, as many Sherpas as you like, who can literally carry you if you can't walk. And then the luxury camps that are set for you in camp 2, camp 3, camp 4, in these high camps. The luxury tents with sofa, luxury beds and all that. That's not available for everybody, right? So you're 8,000 meters up in the mountains, and you're willing to pay for an extra sofa that you can have up there. So yeah, there are these. It's extremely it's hugely debated. So what they pay for, a lot of luxury that people are willing to pay for. So imagine you are 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 meters in the mountain, and you are paying for that extra little chair that you can take up there, so that you can rest inside your camp. Unlimited supply of food that you're never going to consume, right? Unlimited oxygen, unlimited human resource, as many Sherpas as you like. So these are all the luxuries that come around when you're able to and willing to pay extra amounts on the mountain. People do these luxurious expeditions, the really rich people. So when they've done their acclimatization rounds, up to camp 2, camp 3, camp 4, and when they're done and ready for the final summit push, they fly on helicopters to Kathmandu, spend the night on
From the summit.
yeah, no, no, from maybe camp 2.
Okay.
So this happens on the acclimatization round because people are there for 45, 60 days, right? There are a lot of these acclimatization rounds going on, and when you're ready for the final push, right? So some people who can really spend that money, they come all the way down to maybe camp 2 or even base camp. They fly to Kathmandu, spend a night on their hotels, take hot shower.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, and go back to camp 2 because your body is acclimatized, and your body is ready to climb, right? So they're willing to spend a few extra bucks on all these luxuries that can come.
And what's the role of these rescue helicopters?
Rescue helicopters, we've also seen a huge surge on the helicopter operation on Mount Everest. Earlier, I think we can put this in context like this. The helicopter flights, those were permitted only up to base camp, are now sometimes allowed to go all the way up to camp 2, camp 3, to run rescue operations. For special rescue conditions, those were allowed earlier as well, but not so much as they're happening these days, right? So if you're stranded somewhere, you want you need to be rescued, so you have these services, and it is managed by the company that you are with. When you pay up front, you are paying for your climbing fees, as well as some of these assurances, which you'll pay extra for if you need them, but those are in place if you need them. So even when we are trekking in the region, we see these queues of helicopters that are flying above your head. So it's actually contested as something that is also bringing a lot of pollution to the purity of the mountains. The local Sherpa communities, some people, they think of it as something that shouldn't be too unless it is really required. But there are these operations in place, and it is also one of the reasons why climbing is getting more and more popular from the southern side, because these unwarranted helicopter operations are not so easy to operate in Tibet from the China side. It's available for you if you really need those services, but that's again it brings together a lot of questions surrounding whether the mountains are kept intact with their purity and everything.
Some other mountains that are difficult or more difficult than Everest. I have heard that K2 is more difficult.
Yeah.
Is it so?
The Sherpas that we've spoken to, they also take expeditions up K2. For a very good reason, it's called the Killer Mountain. It's far more challenging, and the conditions are extremely difficult compared to Mount Everest. That doesn't mean Mount Everest is any easy, right? So just how you compare between mountains. So some mountains are difficult, some mountains are a little bit more difficult. Even inside Nepal, Mount Dhaulagiri, Annapurna, so these are considered some of the most challenging ones. No, when we compare between mountains for how difficult or easy they are to climb, I think no mountain is easy to climb, right? Some mountains are difficult, some mountains are more difficult, right? So the benchmark is the difficult. The K2, for a very good reason, it's badly. It has this bad name of killer mountain associated with it. In Nepal, Manaslu is a similar another killer mountain. Amadablam, it's 7,000 meters, but still it's one of the most technical climbs. Dholagiri and Annapurna, they are also considered more challenging than Everest. There are these narratives, but no matter where you go in the mountains, I think even in the K2, the highest number of summits is in a Sherpa's name, Mingma David Sherpa. And there were Sherpas who were, competing to be first on K2, I think a couple of years back. A Nepali expedition team did the first ever winter ascent of K2. No mountain is difficult. I mean, no mountain is easy to climb, but how much the limits that you are willing to take yourself to. So I think that is the key with most of the Sherpas.
Yeah, so let's come from mountains to music. You're a music composer and singer yourself. So your first song, Ram Nam, it was about questioning the physical existence of God. So you write a lot of songs about the society. So what do you want to challenge there? Kind of holding a mirror to the society, or what is it about?
So if I say I'm trying to hold a mirror to the society, I think that will be a bit too much, because music writing, I think the first audience, it's yourself, right? So you have to be able to please yourself. And if you find some solace, some comfort in writing meaningful songs, singing meaningful songs that can also connect with others, I think that's enough to me as a musician, because I don't want to take too much of responsibility on my legal shoulders. Right? Yeah, I don't want to be the one who is telling the stories for the society. But as a matter of fact, in the process of doing music, if I'm being able to contribute some of my part to it, I think I'm lucky.
How much of Indian music's influence were present while you were growing up in Nepal? Because we share a lot of commonality between both cultures, music, cinema, and everything.
That's very true. I mean, even if you go back to the Vedic period when the musics were written, so those were written in the subcontinent, right? So and at that time we didn't have different countries, or so to say, divided by borders, anything. The music that was happening on this side of the world, it was happening in the subcontinent. So the grammar of the music that we learn, it may come in different forms, but I think it's similar, and especially with the proximity that we share with India. So we grew up listening to Hindi songs. My mother herself, she's a big fan of Rafi, Mukesh, Kishore Kumar, Lata, right? So I have grown up listening to their songs, and a lot of music that I learned afterwards, formally, informally, it has always had that influence. Because the grammar that we shared, I think we understand those grammars, and because India being a big, fraternity coming from Bollywood and even from Hindustani classical music, it has a lot of inspirations and lot to share to us, learn from, and maybe practice and maybe contribute back. So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of giving and taking, I think, with music.
Any favorite Indian song you like?
So there are lots of Indian songs I like, and I even perform. Big fan of Mohammad Rafi. In these days, I listen to Arjit Singh a lot. Sonu Nigam was here, I think, a few months back. Not a few months back, it's been almost a year. I was at his concert. Uh, I can't pick one, but there are lots of Indian Hindi songs that I love, that I sing, that I perform here and there. So yeah,
So if you're driving through mountains in Nepal, what song would you like to play or hum through your?
I would possibly sing one of my own songs if I'm driving past mountains. So there is one song that I have written on, a Sherpa character itself. So it's still in the making. Uh, I would maybe do that, or any other song. So that will come as a matter of spontaneity if I'm traveling, and I don't know, whatever comes to my mind, I'll just feel free to go and sing. So speaking of music, I'd like to sing this song that it's still in the making. It's on a character from the Sherpa community. So you may not understand the words, maybe, but just connect to music.
You go with the vibe.
I'll just do a little unplugged version to sure. चौरीले चावर डोलाए यूं पर्यो गोठाला टोला घरमा पुवा पाले बोलाए मलाई पुदो चासिला चौरीले चावर डोलाए बिहानीको घाम सोरी मुहारमा छरिदेऊ कि बिहानीको घाम सोरी मुहारमा छरिदेऊ कि शिर सेरी बतास बनी तिमीतिरै सरिदेऊ कि तिमीतिरै सरिदेऊ कि चौरीले चावर डोलाए यूं पर्यो गोठाला टोलाए घरमा पुवा पाले बोलाए मलाई पुदो चासिलाए. So this is the song. It's still in the making. This will be a long song.
Okay.
Yeah, 9-10 minutes long. So
Is translates into
so with this song, we're trying to present the whole life journey of a Sherpa who gets born in a Sherpa family. Gets pulled to the mountains very early on his life. His father is repeat climber. His father teaches him some initial some basic climbing. Later, when he comes of age, he falls in love with his neighboring Sherpa girl. So this part of the song is actually when the guy is falling in love with this girl. But later, he starts climbing himself. There are a lot of struggles going on in the family. This guy falls into an avalanche, and then it's how the story unfolds, and whether he is able to come back or not to his beloved one. Maybe let's keep that as a mystery for now.
but that was amazing, dude. You're a dope musician.
So there also is this Hindi rendition that I do. It's slightly semi-classical rendition of a very popular Hindi song. I'll not tell you which song it is.
Okay.
So you'll find out yourself. I'll also do a little bit of it.
Sure.
Nirigama bama gama pama garindiriza. Nirigama badaniza nire pama gariza. Gama badanire pama nire pama gama. Iriga gari sanji sanji rigama pama gama pa de gare ये निधर नीरे सा तुझे देख देख सोना तुझे देख कर है जगना मैंने ये जिंदगानी संग तेरे बितानी तुझ में बसती है मेरी जान हाय जिया धड़क धड़क जिया धड़क धड़क जिया धड़क धड़क जाए तुझे देख देख सोना.
That was that was it. Kalyu.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, so I've been doing a lot of music apart from writing. Yeah. So thanks Thanks for letting me.
Yeah, thank you so much
No,
for playing. I think the audience would love it. So you write, you compose music, you sing. What else do you do? Any current other project that you're doing?
On what I do, I mean, that's pretty much it. But right now, I think it's interesting to mention here to bring things in context. So I'm working on my MPhil thesis. I'm just about done. I think I'll have my defense in a couple of weeks from now. So I took a chance with my thesis to do it on myself. So it's an autoethnographic
Do it
study.
yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So I am the researcher. I'm myself
You're the
the
research
subject.
subject as
Yeah, both. So this is the methodology called autoethnography, and the thing that I'm exploring here is what drives me into all of these multiple interests, what pulled me towards all of this, and what's helping me retain myself with all these different interests. So that is my central idea. And when I really sat down to reflect upon all of this, and also, so there are lots of theoretical stuff as well ongoing, but to put it in a nutshell, I think we come from a society that always values stability over art, right? So I guess it's the same across the entire subcontinent, not just in Nepal,
right.
but India, others. So there has always been this constant pull toward stability. And music itself, to me, it's never told to live my life, but I'm constantly reminded that it can't really be my career. This is the paradoxical context that I grew up in, and it turns out I started resisting this notion, this pull for stability from very early childhood in my life. So when I performed music, there was this pressure also to do well in my studies, and later on, I still wanted to do music, but I also wanted to satisfy this expectation around stability around me. So yeah, so the resistance initially came as a form so I could practice music and at the same time also satisfy the society's expectations for stability. When things came around and I started doing good in music and I had the choice to actually pursue only music, now I was unable to let go of these other interests. Right, so this is a very interesting paradox of how multiple identities are formed within individuals. I guess it's not particular to just me. It happens to a lot of fellow artists, musicians around me as well. But I think to be a voice, to be able to put this out in words and say that, okay, this is what is actually happening to us. I think I'm enjoying a lot completing this thesis.
I think it's common for people who are creative,
Yeah,
to set
very true.
bigger goals in life and to try to achieve them as dip. And all the very best for whatever you are doing and for your projects and your future. And it was great speaking to you. And you shared those powerful stories about the mountains, the Sherpas. You did a lot of research. Your book is fantastic, I must say. I literally had goosebumps reading those chapters. And it was great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Jay. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for traveling all the way and having me on your show. It's been a really, amazing time. It's been a privilege to me, and I had a great time actually. I guess it was a blast. And thank you for all these amazing questions and really getting around my heads and taking me back to all those memories of how I came around these stories of Sherpas. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. It was an honor.
Thank you.